Welcome to StudioFounders podcast. My name is Aaron. This is Ivan Pryntsev, and we're here at Pryntsev Ballet Academy in Laguna Hills, California. And we have Julia Atkinson, the studio manager here at Pryntsev Ballet Academy. And we're really excited to have you. Great studio manager. Let me start by saying that. Best studio manager I've ever met in my life.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, we want to talk to you about, everything that led up to this point, right? So why don't you just go into what got you into dance first? How did you discover dance?
That is a complicated one.
Yeah, it usually is.
So I started when I was little. I did the baby ballet, as many people did. I did tap, ballet, jazz. And then I think when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I decided to go into gymnastics instead. It wasn't that I didn't want to keep doing dance. I think the studio I was at actually closed down, and we didn't end up taking out another studio. So we just ended up starting gymnastics, which I really liked. Problem there is I was not brave enough for gymnastics. Everything that I had to do caused me a lot of stress. And when I was in middle school, they asked me to join the trampoline competitive team, which if you haven't heard of trampoline gymnastics, it's a different type of gymnastics where you are doing trampoline routines and then also tumbling and another thing called double mini, which is just a lot of flipping and putting yourself through crazy situations. And I would have full-on breakdowns during class, and I would be like, I cannot do this, because you'd have to be able to flip yourself, and it's just a lot. And I always knew that I loved movement, so I really liked gymnastics because of that. But then in middle school, I also joined an after-school dance program at my school, and that was a hip-hop style of dance, but I really liked it because, like I said, I liked movement, and then I also liked music. My whole family, I come from a family of musicians. I didn't want to take that route. I did piano and stuff, but I felt the music through dance. So through that after-school program, I learned some hip-hop dance, but again, it didn't feel quite right. Something about it. I was I love moving, I love music, but I can't break it down like I'm supposed to in hip-hop. And then once I decided at that point that I really loved dance and wanted to continue that, I was I need to get on my high school dance team. And at this point, I had only ever done hip-hop and gymnastics and ballet when I was little. So next step was getting some classical training. And my mom and I looked around at a lot of different studios. The one that we ended up with was a ballet studio, which is just so different and new to me. And I was at this point going into high school, so I was around 14 or 15, and going into a ballet studio, it's very similar to the one that I manage now. It was very intense and scary because I had not grown up doing ballet and I did not know all the training. I knew some basic positions and stuff, but it just felt like I was stepping into a whole nother world, and it almost feels, it's exactly how adults feel going into ballet, and how you felt, I'm sure. It's a whole new language you have to learn, and these children know the language and you don't know the language. Right, and you're I'm older than these children. How do they know what they're doing? And I don't. And it's really can be hard to go through and discouraging at that point. But I'm really glad I stuck through. I, like I said, had to take classes with younger dancers than me. So it felt really uncomfortable for a long time. It took me a long time to make friends at that studio specifically. But once I did, and I'm glad I stuck with it because I really liked it. Finally got on my high school dance team my second year of high school, and then ended up becoming the captain my last year, and got on pointe within 1 year of doing ballet because they thought I was progressing really good. And then, I was going to say also the dance team was hip hop and jazz. So some similar to what I was used to before. But then at the studio, we also did a lot of repertoire. I learned repertoire. We did the Nutcracker multiple times, of course, but I also learned repertoire from Sleeping Beauty and Paquita and La Bayadere.
Wow.
So that was great experience to learn. And I fell in love with ballet and just the beauty and classical tradition of it. But towards my senior year, especially with the dance team and everything just felt very shallow, and like there wasn't much more for me in it because I really wanted to dive deeper into like the artistry and all of that.
Right.
And I really liked my contemporary class at the studio. But when I went into college, and that's a whole nother story because I did not want to go to college because
Wow.
I didn't like school and I was bad at school. And my siblings both went to really nice colleges.
So you were like a rebel in the
Yeah.
the black sheep of the family.
Exactly, yeah. So my parents expected me to go to a college and have a passion and all of that and do well in school, and I did not want that. But when I found out, one of the teachers at my studio also taught at Cal State Fullerton, and I had heard a little bit about their dance program, and the teacher encouraged me to audition. And I didn't audition for any other dance programs. Most dancers have like a list of places they audition for, and it's like the best one that they get into, they want to go to that one. I was just like, okay, I guess I'll audition if you guys are making me. So I did, and I got in, and I actually got waitlisted for the school because like I said, my grades weren't that great, but I got into the school because I got into the dance program. And the Cal State Fullerton dance program is or at least used to be very focused on classical modern dance, which I had not done a ton of before. And then once I found out about that, I feel like everything changed because I loved dance, but I was still questionable. But once I learned about modern dance and like deep dove into contemporary, it's like everything changed, and I like was like, this is where I'm meant to be. And it like everything just made sense. And it makes me really sad that I didn't start earlier because I feel like I could have grown so much more and been a better dancer and all of those things. But also I am so thankful that I didn't because it gives me this whole new perspective. And I feel like I was really meant to have that perspective in order to be the teacher that I am today, because I'm so passionate about teaching either older dancers or adults or just people that are new to ballet, because it's so difficult, and I feel really lucky to be able to give that perspective to my students.
Right.
Aaron, I think Julia just told us all of her story. I think the podcast is over.
Yeah.
Actually. Because we heard everything.
That was it.
Needed.
I thought that's what you
Everybody,
wanted.
Episode finished.
Episode finished just right now.
Quickest episode ever.
Well,
I could have-
Julia, we have a lot of questions for
Okay,
you.
good.
Yeah,
Because I could have
Uh,
gone into more detail.
I'm sure you are.
Well, can I just start by saying that I could really relate to that, the wishing you had started younger, but also being glad that you didn't. You know, I'm still pretty new in the process, like 3 years in, but you know, when I first discovered dance, I discovered it working for a dance competition, and I was like jealous of all these kids, and I was like a full-grown man jealous of a bunch of little kids because they had that experience, you know, growing up, and I was like, man, I wish I could have known earlier. But now something tells me it's just like you find that path when the timing is right, and I think that there's something to be said about that, and I feel good about where I'm at and how I started. So
Definitely.
Julia, so you got into dance since you were like 2 years old, 3 years old? In dance gymnastics?
Yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
well, gymnastics, right, specifically.
Well, yeah, I did dance first, but it was very little
little
kid.
bit.
When
Yeah.
you were 6 or 7 or 8, was a question of should you continue dancing? Do you like dancing? Or it was just kind of like go to the studio and do something?
Well, yeah, like I said, I think my sister was also in the same dance class studio as I was at the time. And then when they ended up closing down, I think they ended up moving, and we just, I don't know, something like my mom wasn't super like into the studio anyway. So she was just like, that's okay. Like, we don't have to continue. Like, it wasn't like something we like had to do. And I really liked it. But then I think I was kind of doing gymnastics at the same time. So I guess I just continued with that, and that's what I stuck with. But
And what age is it? What age did you get to ballet?
back to ballet?
Yeah, back to ballet. What age you got?
When I was 14. Or 14 or 15 going into high school.
7 to 14, that was no ballet training.
Just gymnastics.
Just
yeah.
gymnastics. So you were in gymnastics for quite a while.
Yeah, I wasn't taking it seriously until middle school, though, when I actually joined the competitive team.
And you were in the trampoline gymnastic, not the rhythmic gymnastic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So how was the experience there compared to dance, since you had a lot of experience in dancing and gymnastic?
Yeah,
Apparently,
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know that. Okay.
Well, yeah, I definitely gave me the flexibility. Like, that was something that has stuck with me all through and just like the self-determination and dedication to something like that, especially competing in something like that. But it was just very different. I think like technically there's just a lot of differences. And yeah, like I said, it all has to do with movement, but there's no artistry in gymnastics. It's just movement and tricks, basically. And yeah, the artistry is what really drove me to the dance.
Yeah, since you were there in gymnastics for so many years, and I'm sure there's so many children out there that they think to change to dance, but they're a little concerned how the experience will be in the future. What would you say? Would you say are dance more welcoming and more fun than doing trampoline gymnastic?
Yeah, I mean, it always depends on what you're looking for. There's some kids that thrive off of doing those tricks and flips and stuff and want to put their body through that. But I think it's definitely like a good side by side. I know we have a lot of students that are either doing rhythm gymnastics or ice skating and stuff like that. So I always recommend ballet to clean up that technique, and body lines and everything can be like paired well with ballet, or any of those sports can be paired well with ballet. But I would encourage anyone to join dance. I think it definitely helps your training and all of those things.
Although I think ice skating has a little more of that like artistry to
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Like it feels like they're dancing on the
Mhm,
ice
yeah.
oftentimes.
I would disagree. You know, I would always say that dance is form of art. Anything else is a sport.
Yeah.
I feel like dance should be considered a sport though in its own right.
No,
Oh,
no.
see, here
Well,
we
it's
go.
a big- it's
It
a
can
big
be both, I
controversial,
think.
yeah.
No.
The
It
two things
depends.
can be true.
Aaron, no.
Well, yeah. Also, like
Uh-oh, here we go.
if you're talking
No.
about ballet, no. If you're talking about like dance team competition, then yeah, maybe that could be a sport. But I think it's like very separate.
Yeah,
But the
interesting.
art that you have, and the ballet cannot be scored the same way as the gymnastic, because in gymnastic you have this expectation to be scored, and you have a certain things that you have to reach. In classical training, it's still not there. So, you know, even during the competitions, somebody who can do 2 turns can be a #1 dancer, and somebody who can do 5 turns can be #5 dancer,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Of course.
By the
Yeah.
judges scoring. So
There's more artistry to it. Yeah.
I think it's not just the artistry. I think it's the love and the life, you know, with dance. That's you just, you know, float you through. And in rhythmic gymnastics, you kind of like aiming for Olympic, right? And in classical training, you're just aiming to be happy and fulfilled and get a career, and, you know.
I think though, in regards to the ice skating, I think I need to show him the video of Alyssa Liu during the Olympics this year.
I watched a
because
lot of Olympics.
She was like dancing on that ice.
Yeah.
I'm telling she
Well,
was.
that's why they come to ballet to
Yeah.
get that training, because they don't have any other way of getting that artistry.
Yeah.
They do dance, they leave, the emotion, everything, but it's counted as a sport still.
Right,
Sorry,
right.
July got really.
That's okay.
We won't get too deep into the semantics
yes.
between.
Well, and
yeah.
the artistry comes from ballet. It's not like ice skating artistry. It's like dancing.
Well,
putting
But I
on
agree
top
that
of
all
ice
three of
skating.
those really are kind of like they merge worlds a lot, right? Like I feel like a lot of kids, they're either going to be in like, well, if you're going to get into one of those fields, it's like one of the three, right? Like those three, you might be in gymnastics and then switch to dance, or vice versa, or, you know, so I see how all of those are closely related.
Don't get me wrong, I love ice skating and I love gymnastics and rhythmic gymnastics and trampoline gymnastics too. All these things, I think it's pretty cool. It is very cool, but you can say that is an art form, and dance is counting as an art form. Still, just to wrap it up.
I do have one question for you that's on my mind. Is I think when you were kind of telling us, you know, about that your story, you said that the next move was to go into classical training. So why classical training when you had so many avenues you could have went? When exiting gymnastics, going back into dance, why was classical the obvious move for you?
Yes. So I didn't mention this part, but I actually did audition for the dance team my freshman year, and I didn't get in. And it was like, felt like the most embarrassing audition, because I had only done the hip hop dance team, and I felt I was good at dancing. I was good at memorizing most of the time, and music and all of those things, the artistry, performing. And then when it came to the audition, there was a jazz section and a hip hop section. And I felt like I did well with the hip hop section, but then the jazz section, they were like, okay, like PK turns across the floor. And I was like, what
I
is
see.
that? Like, I didn't even know what that is. So I'm like trying to do it. And it felt like so embarrassing because I didn't know the classical stuff that they were talking about, because even if you're on a dance team, you still have to have that classical training. So that was like right away, like, okay, I need to be ready for that. And that was like my goal for the next year is I want to get on the dance team. I want to get my training. So that's, my mom was calling all the local studios and being like, can we please join? Because a lot of studios don't accept like in the middle of the year kind of thing. So we were, and also like a new teenager like me. So we were just like looking for anyone. And I think the studio I ended up going to was like one of the first ones that answered. So we were just like, okay. And I stayed there, even though I didn't like make a lot of friends or like feel super comfortable, but I stayed there till the end because I was committed.
You had the goal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes sense. And it's funny because I should know the answer to that question, right? Is like, oh yeah, because ballet literally translates into everything else, dance wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, because I remember even my mom called them and was like, she just needs some jazz classes, and they were like, no, she needs to take ballet. And that they told her, and she was like, okay, if you say so.
Right.
And so that's why we went for it, and I'm so glad I did, because I definitely believe that I needed that.
So you did a lot of hip hop moves of this thing,
Yeah.
right?
Not in a very long time, though, not since high school.
I didn't know that. I didn't know a lot
I know,
of things.
it's really weird. I can't imagine doing it now, though.
And the moves too and stuff, yeah?
Yeah, popping and locking.
And the cool pants and stuff too? Wow, amazing.
I can show you some videos.
Very cool, very cool.
So you I like, you know, how you went from ballet to eventually you got into contemporary and modern, because for me it was like, I didn't start with contemporary, but that's what I wanted to start with. But they told me to start with ballet. So I started with ballet. And I think that was really good advice. But now I love ballet, I think, more than I would have loved contemporary, actually. So I feel like it was almost like a reversal of sorts of what you were talking about. But so, I mean, how long did you do that classical training before you started getting into like modern and contemporary?
Yeah, so a lot of the dance team was very performative, commercial, like cheering for the team kind of thing, or just performing at an assembly. And then at the studio, I took mostly ballet, but there was jazz and contemporary classes. And then there was also we took a modern class, but it was very much like mixed modern, I would say more contemporary. And then that was pretty much my main experience with that. Every time I did do anything more like lyrical, contemporary, things like that, I really enjoyed it. I liked the way it felt. And then my favorite part of ballet was like like I said, the artistry, but like I fell in love with like specifically the Swan Lake and Giselle Pas de Deux. It's so beautiful, like that. Specifically, both of those ballets are my favorite, but the Pas de Deux is like so romantic, and you could just like feel it, and like the story of it. And I started like watching full ballets just as a high schooler in my own time, and just like falling in love with that. But like I said, at some point I got a little bit bored with ballet quickly because I don't know, you can't go as deep in my opinion, but you'll probably argue with me on that one.
Here we go.
But you can. I'm not saying you can't, but it just didn't feel that way. It felt very limited to me at the moment.
Yeah.
So when in college, when I was introduced to modern dance, which I had been introduced, but it felt like it was like newly introduced for the first time. And specifically Martha Graham is what got me. The Graham technique is all about contraction and that like really human guttural feeling that you get from like crying, laughing, throwing up, like things like that, where you feel like an actual contraction in your gut. It's a feeling that every human gets, and the whole dance technique is based off of that. And so I just love that, like choreographing and dancing for the human experience, like it just drew to me like so much because everyone can relate to it no matter what. And the Martha Graham technique is very difficult. And if you've ever heard anyone who's done it before, they'll probably tell you that they hate it. She basically, in all of modern dances, they created their own techniques based on their body. So she had it based on her body, which is very different from most people's bodies. So it hurts most people when they do it because you're on the floor a lot of the time and you're moving your legs and it's very constricted and it feels painful most of the time, but I felt like my body was right for it. And that's why I was like, I need to go for this because it feels really good. And my freshman year of college, my brother was living in New York and the Martha Graham School is in New York. And they had a winter intensive that my teacher told me about. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And that was my first ever dance intensive. I went and stayed with my brother in New York, and I did it. And that was right before COVID also. And I'm so glad that I did. But basically, to answer your question, I know that was a long way around
it's good.
it.
Good information.
But
Yeah.
Martha Graham is really what made me fall in love with modern dance specifically. And then like she's also like the mother of modern dance. A lot of people say, even though she didn't like completely originate it, but it's actually she has the oldest dance company in the United States, older than any ballet companies in the United States also. And it's their 100-year anniversary this year. So I just feel like it's so special and like really is the foundation of all modern and contemporary dance.
Very nice. I never heard that story. Dance. I'm sorry, I didn't. Have you heard that story
About
about
Martha Graham?
Yeah, Martha Graham. Yeah.
No, I mean I've always heard the name, and I've always known
Me
it to be
too.
one of the prominent,
Yeah.
forms.
I'll teach you guys a class and you can feel it.
Amazing.
It's gonna hurt our God.
Yeah.
Aaron.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'll be. Maybe meant
your
for
body's
it.
right for it. Yes. Julia, you joined classical training at 14. I mean, seeing how you do tandu, beautiful arches, and presentation, you
Thank you.
have a capacity, right, for classical training. How was your journey was at 14 years old as a starting that classical training, and other dancers was already at the level of doing things, knowing things like ahead of you 2-3 years minimum, right?
Yeah.
So how did it feel to be there at 14? Because many again also many that wants to join comes to us at 14, 15 years old, right?
Yeah.
And it's really scary. Like I can feel it. It's really scary.
Yeah. It was pretty horrible. I mean, like, it didn't get fun and nice for a long time. And I think a lot of that had to do with probably the studio. Like, the other day when we had a new student, Ivan came up to me and said, make sure you go tell the other students to welcome her and introduce each other. And I was like, yes, okay, definitely. Because I remember my first day, the teacher maybe gave me like a buddy and was like, here, this is your buddy. And then I never talked to that girl again. So it was like very, I feel like they weren't like, it wasn't important to them that I had a friend. And I felt like for a long time that I was just kind of on my own. And the girls that were my age were very cliquey and they all had their own friends and everything. So when I took some mixed level classes that had the older and younger girls and some of the classes with just the younger girls. It's very similar to our levels as well. But when I would take the classes with the younger girls, I started actually becoming friends with them. And even though they were in middle school and I was in high school, they were just so sweet and like funny and entertaining. And I ended up like becoming friends with a lot of the younger girls, which helped because it just gave me more feeling of community and everything. And that's like something you definitely need because that's the most discouraging thing. If you're going to class every day and you feel lonely and like nobody cares about you and like the teacher's the only one you're trying to like, you're there for basically, even though like the teacher doesn't want you to be misbehaving with your friends, but it's such a difference of just having at least one friend and some sort of community in a studio. And that's something that took me a really long time to build. But once I started getting the hang of ballet and like, I feel like because I already had that flexibility and like natural movement, it was very quick. I caught on very quickly and the teachers were impressed with me. And like I said, I got on point within the first year. So it got better, but I feel like it took longer than it should have, especially if I was in like the correct program and everything. Because I did it the difficult way, but I think there probably was a program for me out there that would have been more guided towards my age or whatever. But like I said, I'm glad where I ended up and it was all meant to be. So,
well, total, years of classical training should be 8. 8 years of study classical training to become a professional ballet dancer. So I guess it was a year or 2, right? And you already went on point and did a lot of things. I mean, that quick, that is quick.
But she said it should have been quicker.
No, I'm saying finding the community.
Okay. I thought that's what you meant.
No,
but
just like
being on point.
No, like being comfortable.
Fair enough.
With just being there in general.
I know how
that
difficult.
Was quick for point because I think because I was older already and they saw my strength and technique and flexibility and all of that. But yeah, that was I feel like that's rare most of the time to get on point that quickly.
So after about 2 years, you start to feel more comfortable, part of community, part of that dance school. How many how many years it took to get to that
Yeah,
point?
probably about 1 or 2, because by the time that I was a senior, um, I was like one of the oldest ones there, and there happened to just not be a lot of seniors that year. And I still felt, I mean, they were always kind of like holding me back because I was new. But like for the Nutcracker, for instance, like I was really hopeful to get like in my senior year at least like one solo or featured role, and I only got Flower and Snow core. And I was like, okay, so I guess I'm not like,
No,
I don't know. I just like
so
wanted that like extra little push maybe from them or something, or to feel like I was recognized in some way. But towards the end, it was also just my shyness. Like, I don't know, like if it was me or them, but as a child, like I shouldn't be responsible for that, I guess. So like by the end, I did feel like part of the community, but I just feel like it took a little bit longer than it needed to.
You know, I feel like when you're pursuing something like as intense as ballet, it kind of just makes things more difficult if you feel that way, right?
Yeah, and with a competitive environment like
Right.
that, yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's not for the faint of heart, I think, ballet in general, but then like all of the other things that can compound on top of that, you know.
Very true.
So it was competitive. So
Yeah.
Would you say that dance studios are competitive inside the community? Most.
Yeah, dance in general, I would say, is it's
Really?
hard not to be competitive. Even if it's a non-competition studio, I think there's always that rivalry between dancers. Even if you're friends with the other dancer, like you're always comparing yourself to others and that kind of thing, you know?
Well, in Ukraine, it wasn't that way. Just people can tell you you're bad, and you're like, okay, cool, that's it. Just like that, like no drama at all.
But
You're
you're just
bad.
focused on yourself.
And you focus on yourself, and people can talk about you, but you can just like, I'm on my path.
Wait, Ivan's told stories on this podcast, I
Yeah.
think, about getting beat up by other dancers. So
Yeah, I mean, it was in a company when you're older, but not in school.
it's not that bad though.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. In company, it's definitely like a lot more competitive, and you're trying to get the
I heard
roles and all of
different
that.
stories from United States companies.
Yeah.
It was different stories. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
Stuff happening in, other Ukraine too, and Russia, of like dancing in the company, and so much drama. But in the United States, there was a lot of drama too.
Well, it's also the teacher and the studio owners that create that culture. And I think like
True.
here, I don't think the dancers are like cutthroat with each other. They're all really supportive and friends most of the time. But like,
I think parents are more
yeah,
competitive, right?
And definitely parents bring that on to the kids also, because it's just hard, I think, in any ballet class, especially when you're wearing just a leotard and tights, it's hard not to look around and say, why do I look different than that person? Or like, why can they do that different than me? Or why is their leg higher than mine? Like, that's just something that you can't really avoid in a dance studio. But us as teachers and educators, that's like our job to create that culture of like, we're here to support each other, not compete with each other.
Right.
And focus on your own journey. Like, you should only be trying to compete with yourself the way you were last class. Like, you should always just trying to be bettering yourself.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
So true.
And even then, like, I feel like you have to be forgiving of yourself too, right? Like,
Yes.
maybe I wasn't as good as last class, but not every class is going to be perfect either.
Yeah.
You know?
Every day is different.
Yeah, it takes a long time for that progress to be realized, I think, so.
So you were training there for 4 years? 4 years? How many years you were in dance school?
Yeah.
14 till 18?
All of high school, pretty much.
Very nice. And then you joined and you went to
Cal State Fullerton, yeah.
Yes,
Cal State
yes.
Fullerton,
So how was the audition? How was your journey there? That was hard to get it, or inside the
No,
program?
well, like
or-
I said, I just didn't want to go to college in general. But once I got in after the audition itself was not difficult. I remember feeling good about it. There was like a ballet section and a contemporary modern section. And yeah, I felt
So everybody get in? Because
no.
not
It
everyone.
was still competitive, but like I felt good at the audition compared to the high school dance team audition.
Do you have to have a good grades from school and good skills in dance, or if you don't have a good grades from school but have a good dance skills, you still can,
Yeah,
still
so that's what happened. I got waitlisted for the academic school. So like it was like, you might get in. And then once I got into the audition for dance, then the dance department was like, you need to let her in because we want her, basically. So that was good for me because my dancing proved better than my education skills.
I see.
You know,
You,
so
you did not like the school.
No, and that also why I took 5 years to graduate college because I just am not good at school. But dance is where it's at for me.
you had a contemporary and a ballet section, right?
hmm
So let's say, I'm curious, like, let's say you were really good at one, but you didn't really know the other. Like, let's say me. I'm not saying I'm like really good at ballet yet. I'm still working on it. But let's say, like, you know, like if I was to go audition for something like that, I know ballet, but I don't know contemporary, or vice versa. Would they accept that? And then just like kind of like train you on where you're weak in?
Yeah,
Or...
I think for college programs, it's all about like numbers and like there's a lot of dancers, like there's a ton of good dancers that will most likely want to go to Long Beach or UCI instead if they get accepted into those because those are better dance programs.
Right.
But
so it just depends kind of on the demand.
yeah, so those
yeah.
like if they see you and they're like, okay, well he has good potential if we don't have enough people, you know, like kind of thing. So I think they always can see your potential and you're there to learn dance in the program. You're not there to start as a perfectionist. So they want people who can grow and have good potential.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about
it? Well, hold on. Yes and no.
Well, I didn't know that.
We get into that conversation later, but but maybe you'll help me to make an informed decision with my next question.
Okay.
What is the value of a dance education in college?
Yes.
Right? As opposed to, and I think they both have values, right? So I'm not trying to say one or the other, but as opposed to hands-on experience, right? Like dancing in a studio or professionally or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So I think if a dancer after they graduate high school is an amazing dancer that's ready to be hired right away for that kind of thing, then like they can do it. But I don't think that's possible most of the time. Especially like right out of high school. I just think it's important to continue that full-time training. Like people are mostly coming from a studio environment. When you go to college, you're going to get full-time training for 4 years straight. And that is like the most important and valuable thing to me. Cause I just don't think like you can say like, okay, I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to do it on my own. And it's like, what are you going to go to a studio and pay for classes until you get hired to do something? And even if you do get hired to do something, it's not going to be a full-time thing. So it's like, or like maybe you can try and getting signed with an agency and they'll get you more jobs. Like that's something, but that's if you're going the commercial route. Like that's a whole different thing.
I was going to say probably not for like classical ballet.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think it's really important to do like a college dance program is one thing. There's also dance company training programs. That's also a really good route that you don't have to do the school. So like specifically for ballet dancers, that is a great route because there's a lot of ballet companies that have full-time training programs, which you still have to pay for. So that's the other thing about that is like you're doing the same thing as college and paying almost just as much, but you're just doing the dance training. So other than that, other than the full-time like 3 to 4 classes a day in multiple styles that will get you well-rounded, at least my program and most programs also teach choreography, which is like a big one for us. We had 3 semesters of it, and you do it your last 2 years. So we call it composition class because it's not just choreography. You're learning how to create an entire piece as well as like lighting, costumes, like all of the above. So I would say that choreography is another really important one to me and that I learned so much from because before that I would say like I could choreograph, but now I actually have the tools and know how to choreograph. And then the other one that I learned a ton from is like the pedagogy program. So learning how to teach dance because you can be a great dancer, but not all dancers can teach dance.
Right.
So I think learning how to teach dance is also really important and something that like I think is important to like actually be sat down and taught, not just like learned from experience. And then also we had other classes like music for dancers and kinesiology for dancers and different stuff like that where you really become a well-rounded dancer. And the other thing is with specifically that my program, they made it very clear to us from day one that you do not have to become a professional dancer. Even if you're in this dance program, there's so many jobs for you, like that you can become any of them. Besides just a teacher or an administrator, you could also, another class we did was dance theory and crit, so writing for dancers. So you could be a dance writer in a like dance magazine or blog. You can be a kinesiologist for dancers. You could do music, and you could like any of those things. You could be the crew backstage. Like there's so many different dance routes, or you could get Pilates certification, yoga certification, physical, or yeah. What am I? Physical
therapy?
Physical therapy. Yeah. It's like, what is the other word? So there's so many other routes to take, and that is another great thing about college is you can see all those opportunities and learn about all of them and then take your route.
That's amazing. Yeah, actually, yeah, you got me thinking about it now. Well, the good thing about college too is you can get grants. You can like the professional program, training program that you're talking about, not the same, right? So like college, you can get grants, you can get student loans. That's a whole different topic, whether it's worth it or not for that. But there's a lot of financial aid out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how much does the BA cost in the Fullerton or in general overall?
Cal State's probably cheaper than some other universities.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, definitely I did not pay for it myself, so I wouldn't be able to give you an exact number, but I did also get like a lot of grants and financial aid as well. So
But I heard education in the United States is really expensive. And what does it look like in BA? In tuition? Like
I wish I had those
Harvard?
numbers.
If I'm gonna guess, okay,
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
guess. I could be off. I could be way off. But I think for a university, it's like 7 to 10 grand a year, probably. So I think if you're doing
if
a
you're looking
4-year,
at the
That's-
UCI, like
that's why-
it's semester problem, man.
that's why. Well, Cal State is more affordable. And they still have pretty good education, so that's a good route to go. Typically, people will go to community college for the first 2 years.
I heard that too. Yeah.
That saves you a lot of money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, or you could just go straight into the 4-year program, but it's a better choice, I think, to do because the first 2 years is all general education normally. And then the last 2 years is mostly like what your major is,
I
right?
see.
Typically. So,
Also, the community colleges like just around here also have really good dance programs. And
oh, really?
yeah, Cal State
Interesting.
Fullerton, we have gotten a lot of the dancers from those dance programs. I know like Irvine Valley College has a really good one, OCC, and what's the other
That's it. I'm going back to college.
Yeah.
I was already.
Well, yeah,
I
and you
was already
can. Oh,
thinking
and
about it.
Fullerton Community College also, and Long
Right,
Beach
yeah, yeah.
also. Like they
Yeah.
all have full-on dance programs, so you can even just like take drop-ins of
Yeah.
dance classes if you want.
I've taken classes at Fullerton and Cypress College. Those two are actually connected
Yeah.
with each other. So yeah, I mean, I was working on my general education. I had some different routes that I wanted to go. I'm more passionate about dance now, so I think that would be a good major. But yeah, you got me thinking now for sure.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of value out of this episode already. I'm
Yeah,
gonna go home
I
and really
always-
think about my life after this.
I always recommend going to dance college for dance, and
Right.
something I talk to my students about like almost weekly because it's even if you are gonna go for it yourself, there's no way you can like force yourself to take that many classes a day and be that committed to training. So I think like it's just such a cool thing, and like I've been graduated now for almost 2 years, so it's just so different because I wish I still had that full-time training. And Tatiana, she's gonna graduate this semester, and she'll like complain to me that she has to take class, and I'm like, no, don't even complain, like you don't even know. And like when I see her in our meetings, like in the locker room, I get so jealous because I'm like, I wish I was still there taking classes all the time. And you get so burnt out like by your senior year, but it's really like you don't know how lucky you are to be training like that and to have that facility. And also the other thing, which I don't think is mentioned enough, but live music
Right.
accompanist
Oh, you get
in
like
all your
live
classes.
pianists.
Yes, in
oh,
all your
wow.
classes.
Really?
Yeah. Mhm.
Really?
And that's something that like you don't realize how lucky you are
Right.
until you're out of that and they start playing recorded music, and it's like, oh, what is this? It's amazing. Yeah, we had pianist and drum percussion.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. In all of our
Crazy.
classes. Yeah.
Oh, so-
Cool.
So I assume that even if you don't want to be a choreographer and even if you don't want to be a teacher, those other classes that they're giving you about choreography and pedagogy, is that how you pronounce it? That those are useful for you as a dancer,
Yeah,
right? So
definitely.
can you explain maybe what your thoughts are on that, maybe? On how those could be valuable for a dancer even if they didn't
yeah.
want to go those routes?
Well, yeah, like I said, you can be a dance writer. So we learned how to write about dance. We learned we learned about kinesiology for a dancer, which is different because I've been to like physical therapy before, and they'll be like, oh, just do some calf raises. And it's like, well, I do calf raises every day as a dancer. What do you mean? Or they'll be like, oh, that hurts, then stop doing it. And it's like, well, I have to dance though. What do you mean? So there needs to be people out there that understand dancers.
Right.
And like, it's pretty rare. So the more of us that there are like helping out. And also, even if you are going to be a professional dancer, you cannot make a full-time living off of that. Even if you're in the biggest company in the States, like it's not sustainable and you're not going to be able to pay
most
your
of them
bills.
don't pay it very well.
Especially as a single living person, like it's not possible. So you're always going to have a side gig. And I think it's way better to have a side gig that's related to your passion.
Absolutely,
yeah, you know this well. You
Dance
both know this well.
yeah.
Than to be doing something fully different, and something my teachers would always say, like, especially if you're dancing in a company, like you don't want to like be serving or bartending or something that you're gonna have to be on your feet. You already have to be on your feet dancing all day, and then at night you're gonna have to be on your feet and serving people more. Like, do something that's easy and that's gonna work with your job. And like, I'm so lucky that I get to work from home and like my schedule is flexible and with my teaching classes and everything, and I get to create my own schedule in that way. And it's like so great. And also I'm learning how to manage a dance studio. I'm learning how to do all of these things that I wouldn't have done before. And now like wherever I go next, I can always take all of that with me. And also as a teacher, like it's everything at once.
Yeah.
Within dance.
For sure. It's really good. I think that I can't stress that enough, how important it is to like, okay, you can't be a professional dancer right now, or you can't make a living off of it, then get into a dance environment as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, that's what I tried to do. That's why I'm here. So,
so we all know that well.
Yeah. So definitely is like, I feel like people so easily can make excuses for why they aren't able to succeed in what they want to do, but they don't think creatively enough in the ways that they can really be involved in that type of industry.
Yeah. True.
So
I think in California, you might not be able to do full-time job as a dancer, but in New York, I think there's just plenty.
In the episode that we did with
but Julia knows better. Yeah.
No, even like the dancers in ABT, they all have side jobs. They don't, or they have a husband that they
support.
Yeah, that supports them. So
For real.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
What was
even in the ABT?
You named one place in the episode with Thel, and you said, because you said that they'll, would you believe there's this one company and they don't have to get a job as a barista at Starbucks after?
Yes,
what place was that? Do you remember what it...
No.
Oh, okay. We'll have to go back and watch it again.
Okay.
There's one company out there in the whole country that will pay your bills.
Okay.
I don't know which one it is, but
I have to see it to believe it.
I just recently, by the way, Alberta Ballet School in Canada, I think they give their dancers paid leave over the summer. I think they do. I think the dancers, they don't have to work. They have 40 weeks contracts. And even though they're not dancing, but they do something else and they still get paid. It's Alberta Ballet School.
Well, another thing is
Canada.
for personally, even if I had some kind of gig where I was working 40 weeks, and then even if I was paid enough to sustain through the rest of the year, I very much like to work and like to make money. So I feel like I wouldn't want to spend that other time just resting the whole time. I would want to work and do something to save up some more cash,
But I think in general, like the US does not fund the arts.
Yeah.
And most, especially like European countries, it's like valued there. And people see that it's not only like enriching the dancers' lives, but like the culture of society, and like being able to like sit and watch this ballet and appreciate it. Where like, I feel like a lot of people here in our culture are like, no, that's boring. I don't want to do that. So it's like, it's celebrated there and it's different. And then it's like companies are paid by the government, which some are here, but arts funding is getting cut more and more as the days go by. So
yeah, and look at places like the Royal Opera House, like these beautiful, elaborate venues with these super expensive, beautiful curtains, and like you could just see how much they really value that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is totally random, but you said Giselle was one of your favorites, right? So I actually just watched that for the first time. I told Ivan, he said he doesn't like it. Yeah.
No, I like Swan Lake music.
Okay.
I think is the most beautiful music that I ever heard. Like Swan Lake music is the music that I really love.
I watched the Royal Ballet iteration of it, and Yeah, I could see why it's one of your favorites. Yeah.
It's
Giselle.
very romantic.
Oh, it's so good.
Giselle.
Yeah, so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw it when I went to New York last summer. I saw ABT do it.
Yeah.
That was really fun. But yeah, I think a lot of choreographers and teachers have always told me, or just like me and people around me in general, is like, get out of the United States, like go somewhere else. If you want to get paid, don't stay here, like go somewhere else. Especially like choreographers, like they take a lot of choreographers from the US and will fund their entire stay in this other country just to choreograph for this company and like provide everything. And I know a lot of choreographers that only do that and like want to choreograph for different companies. So I want to get out of here one day, definitely.
I know one person, I'm not gonna name it right now, but she is a great choreographer. She creates beauty.
Name her. I want to give her a shout out.
But I want to say something else. Maybe she doesn't want to be that
okay,
online.
well, we got to
That's
see what
why-
he says about her first.
Yes. And so she creates really good choreography. YGP first places, outstanding teacher all the time. Julia probably knows who I'm talking about right now. And I told her, say, hey, you can just send your resume to those schools and the big companies and they will take you for sure. And she's like, I tried. I tried. No, it's not works that way. It's like, wow, are you serious? Like, yeah. Yeah. And so I'm so surprised to hear that it's supposed to be, if you're a great choreographer, everybody wants you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of choreographers at the YGP. They're also judges and the choreographers and they teach and they, international. Well, they've been well paid and well funded too, because they get their stable salary, but also they create a lot of choreography. They are guest choreographers everywhere. They're like a superstars, like actors, So I guess it's there. It has to be just kind of find a path.
Yeah, I
to
know.
it.
Like you probably have to know someone to know someone.
Connections, right? And you have to have a lot of again, customers too, that people just send it to you, request and say, but can you create that for me? Can you create that for me? Right? Then more you have, and then if you charge $3,000 for choreography, I mean, you can do some calculations, and if you do 50 100 choreographer dances a year, I mean, it's very stable too, right? From one side, but you just have to kind of get out there.
Yeah.
Emerging
So-
choreography is not easy. I feel like it takes a very specific type of brain to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why are you so passionate about choreography?
Good question.
Yeah, because that was something that I noticed in your bio, was that you love choreography. So what led you there?
Yeah, I would say definitely in college I did during high school I did choreograph a few different pieces and they were all very abstract and what I saw as like modern dance, which I didn't even know about back then, but I was trying to create something as weird and as different as possible. And I think that's like a lot of my choreography is just doing something different and like not done before, or something that feels something that you haven't seen before, basically, is my goal. And so back then in high school, I did it and it felt okay. But again, like I felt like I didn't really know how to do it. And I was just kind of creating what felt right in the moment. But through the composition series during college, I would say the first semester of it, I absolutely hated choreographing. And that was our teacher's goal, actually, is she wanted us to break us down to the point. To the point where like we did not even know what choreography is. Like she wanted us to look at it at such like a raw form that like, which worked. And that helped me so much because you can, choreograph skills and movements and say like pirouette and leap and chaîné and piqué and stuff like that. But to choreograph something where there's movement that you don't have any labels to is very difficult. And that's like for the whole first semester of composition, it was like you need to get out of your habits. Because when you're improving as a dancer, you want to do the same things over and over again that feel good and that you know that you're good at. But she was like, no, you need to be doing something new. Every single movement needs to be something you have never done before and something a completely new pathway in your body. And it's so frustrating to work that way because you're like, oh, no, not that. No, not that. No, not that. Like everything feels wrong and you have to like really break it down and look at it as just movement and not dance or technique or skills and all of that. And it's so hard especially after being trained as a technical dancer your whole life. It's like, wait, all of that I learned, I need to like get rid of. But then by the time I got to the Comp B semester, I loved it, and it felt like so much more natural. And they also were teaching us a lot of different tools, like I said, for choreography, things like levels and ripples and dynamics and musicality and stuff like that. It's just sounds like words, but there's a lot of like tools that come in your toolbox when you're learning about choreographing. And so that was the second semester of it, I really enjoyed it, and I ended up creating a piece of choreography that I had my brother make music for, because like I said, he's a musician. So that was like something that he helps me with all the time, with everything that I choreograph. He has had something to do with the music, and I just like finally was feeling like I was opening up to choreography, and specifically the dance program I went to, they are really big on dance for social justice. So choreographing to make a change and something that you're passionate about. And that's all of what modern dance is about. It's very political, and something that Martha Graham did a lot. She choreographed dances that were making a statement about what was going on in the world. She actually was invited to the Olympics in Germany in the 1930s and denied the invitation because of what was going on in Germany at the time, and because she had a lot of dancers in her company that wouldn't be welcomed there. And she said no, and then she created a dance about it in resistance to politics. So
interesting.
Just
It is,
yeah. Contemporary and modern dance is very much political, just in general. So that was something that they really taught us about, was that you can create a dance about nothing, but you can also create a dance that has very deep meaning and can make some sort of change in the world. And so that second semester, I made a dance about social anxiety, which I was experiencing, and it really helped me like work through that with the dancers that it was about, or that I set it on. The next semester, our last semester, they really wanted us to focus on social justice. And we also had our senior project, which is what you do at the end of your program. So I decided to make my dance themed around fentanyl overdose, which is something that someone close to me had passed away from. And I had created this dance about it was a duet between two people. One person represented the drug, the other person represented the user, and it was basically like a battle between them. And that's, again, how I worked through some feelings and grief that I was having. And then my senior project, I decided to continue that overdose awareness, and had some trainings and presentations with all of the dancers in the class. And the family, like I said, that was close to me, or the person that passed away that was close to me, I used his music for my piece. And it's just like everything started coming together and feeling right, because you can use your own deep personal feelings and put them somewhere and work through something through dance. And then the other major piece of choreography that I created in college, this was actually so the composition classes, we just have showcases for, so you show your work at the end of the semester. But then I got chosen to choreograph for the big main stage show, the Spring Dance Theater. And I choreographed a 15-minute dance. And it was about it was based on the movie Donnie Darko, which I don't know if
I've
you've
seen
heard
it.
of it.
It's been quite a while,
Yeah.
but yeah.
It's a very strange movie.
Yes, yes.
And the dance was very strange.
It's like about mental illness and different things.
Yeah, and like time travel and a lot of craziness. So I was trying to like put that all into a dance, and I did. And it was really fun though. For the main stage show, I actually got to work like one-on-one with a set designer, a costume designer, and a lighting designer. And I told them like exactly what I wanted. I gave them directions of everything I wanted. I told them exactly which costumes I wanted. And it was everything. It just felt so right. And after I still feel so proud of that piece. And it's like probably one of I think my best piece of choreography yet. And it just like made so much sense, because I didn't really see myself as a choreographer before that. But after I made that piece, and everything came so clear from the beginning, I knew exactly what I wanted, and there was no questioning any of it. And that's just like how I knew it felt right. And I think teaching feels a lot of the same way, where I kind of get into this flow state where I don't even know what time or day it is anymore. I'm just going and going, and it feels so natural, and it's like it's happening before my own eyes, and like that's just how I know I'm in the right place.
Right. Yeah, of course.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm still choreographing. I have 2 pieces that I'm choreographing for the spring show that I'm very excited for. And it's different choreographing on children because they are newer to that and they haven't experienced that. They a lot of times they learn ballet repertoire, which is a set choreography, which they just have to learn. But for my classes and my teaching, I'm really trying to bring in all of those things that I learned in college to these young kids because I want them to learn it from the beginning. And they have impressed me so much by their ability to turn dance just into movement. And like really, when they're improving, I don't see them doing 6 pirouettes and leap and, you know, all of that. They're doing movements. They're adding some turns and some leaps in between, but it's in their own movement type of way. They're not doing a set skill. And even my youngest ones, I'm so impressed by them. Because like I said, I had to reverse years of training in my brain to try to get my brain to think that way. So we're choreographing these dances, and it's not like I'm coming to them and saying, okay, here's the choreography. This is what we're doing today. I actually say, okay, I want you guys to choreograph something, and then let's put it all together and mix it all around. And I want you to give me your ideas and tell me what you want to do because I want them to be happy in their dance and everything like that. So
most people probably wouldn't approach it that way.
Yeah,
so,
and especially with the young children.
Yeah.
But it has actually worked really well. I've been surprised how much they're able to create with their minds, and it gives me so much easier of a job because then we get to work together and use each other's material, and they really like it. And I have been so happy with my classes. But sorry, I went into the tangent on my classes because of my choreography. But
Right.
yeah.
Julia, it seems like you leaning toward choreography more than toward to be a dancer. Is that right? Is that true? Would you say you like to create more than to dance, or
I think
otherwise?
I feel more confident creating. I very much very quickly fell into full-time teaching and managing, as we know, but I still do want to have my own dance career at some point. That's a goal. It's not over, but I'm still trying to dance for myself, but
But what your
it's
soul
hard.
feels more because you've been so passionate about choreography and creation and what
Yeah.
you do. But we did not much here today about dancing and other things. What would you say?
Which one am I more?
Yeah, which you leaning toward.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I mean, yeah, I think I thrive more on teaching and leading and choreographing. But there's a part of me that doesn't feel experienced enough yet, and that there's so much more to learn to be able to choreograph and teach to the best of my ability. So I do like really want to still be able to um, have my own career, or my main next goal is to get a teaching certification. I think I want to do it in the Martha Graham technique, as we discussed, is my favorite. But just like to continue that like full-time training for a little bit longer, because I'm never gonna stop learning. So I always want to learn more. So I think in order to feel like as confident as possible through the choreography and teaching, I want more dancing.
I
And I also
see.
just want to like feel like I had some sort of career on my own.
And as a dancer.
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
dancer, very nice. I noticed you said you had a social anxiety when you were the first year in the college, first,
Mhm.
second year. So how does it feels to have a social anxiety around people, but also be a dancer? Because there's a lot of people who comes to the studio that we're noticing that they have an anxiety to be around other people,
Mhm.
but they're okay when they're dancing on stage.
Yeah.
Because I had anxiety to be a dancer and being on stage, but I was around
What?
people just fine.
I understand what you're asking too, because my first performance in the Nutcracker, like normally that kind of thing, like being on a stage like that, would give me anxiety.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel it.
Mhm.
I didn't feel the anxiety.
I have a lot of I'm shaking before I go on
Yeah,
stage.
I was
shaking.
surprised actually how I didn't notice it in the moment, but then looking back, I was like, "That's really odd."
Yeah.
I'm shaking before I
Yeah.
go, like really.
Yeah. For me, like I've experienced a lot of anxiety, but I think like just socially in situations where I'm new, it like is a lot stronger. And specifically like when I was new to that studio, or when I was new in college and had to have like start making friends, especially making friends as an adult is just like not a skill that we thought we would need. And I don't know. I think like that is just hard to get into a community. So like, but then when I'm on stage and dancing with other people, I think I don't really have as much nerves about performing in general, especially if I feel well practiced. So I would say they're like pretty separated, but I don't experience it as a dancer. I would say that definitely eases the anxiety part of it, and also dancing with other people. But also, like I said, it's just a lot of comparison socially is like where that anxiety comes from, I would say.
I see.
Yeah.
Would you say being a good dancer doesn't mean you're gonna be a great choreographer, and being great choreographer doesn't mean you're gonna be a great dancer?
Yeah, definitely. That's why like I'm not super worried about my dance skills because I feel like I can still be behind the scenes no matter what. Um, but yeah, I've seen a lot of choreographers that they don't look like they're a dancer, you know? It's like someone that you wouldn't say is your typical dancer, but they've created like some beautiful pieces, and they're not even able to like show you what choreography they want, but if they're able to communicate it and direct you and like tell the dancers and like bring their vision in their head to life on the dancers, I think like that is so much stronger than someone who can do the whole dance by themselves as a choreographer.
Right. Well, interesting.
Okay, so a little while ago you talked about how contemporary and modern dance are very political. So my question to you would be, is that like a rule, or is that more of like a guideline? And I know that sounds like a silly question probably, but I'm curious, like, what if somebody isn't really politically aligned in any sort of way or doesn't have any strong beliefs? Do you think that they would have a difficult time being a good modern dancer?
No, there's different types of modern. I was specifically talking about like early modern dance.
The Graham technique,
Yes,
specifically.
Graham technique is very political. And then once we get into, there's the Horton technique, which is very much about like geometry, like lines and all of that, like strength of the body and things like that. So if you've ever heard of like flat backs or laterals, that comes from Lester Horton technique. And then there's also the Alvin Ailey company you might have heard of. They're really big in New York. That was kind of a little bit of like blending of the artistry and political with just the body movement. But then postmodern was very much opposite of that, because I think originally modern was created as like a resistance to ballet. So it was like opposite of ballet. We're going to do everything different from ballet. Then it was like, okay, well, now we're going to do everything different from modern dance, and we're going to create our own postmodern contemporary. And then it just became very much all about movement. And there was like this really big phase of time where it was just movement for movement's sake, is what they call it. And that's more of like the Cunningham. There's also Limon, which is a lot more political in that early modern. I just forgot to mention Limon is like the gravity and the swinging and suspending and releasing and all of that. And then when we got into like Cunningham and more of that like postmodern release technique and floor work and stuff like that, that's when it became a lot more contemporary and a lot less codified. So there's not like the structure to class where we're doing like pliés, tendus kinds of things. It turned into contemporary, which is very much just about movement, flowing, and then still using those same scientific factors of gravity and alignment and all of those suspension and all those kinds of things that we work with a lot of the time in contemporary. To answer your question, when I say political, I don't mean like Republican and Democrat. I mean like making a change, making a statement about anything.
It's like an activism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That could literally be anything. So you don't have to be political in that way.
Although oftentimes activism does tie in with politics, so I get where you're going with that.
Yeah. I'm just saying in the way that it's to make a change. So even like originally modern dance was in resistance to ballet. Like it was just being resistant of the traditions of ballet. So that was like a political stance.
So political, it wasn't Republican and Democrat, it was ballet and modern.
Originally. Yeah, in the dance world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so modern dance is not all political and super deep meaningful like that. There's a ton of it that is like nothing. There was also this phase, I think it was Cunningham that had the dance by chance. So a lot of it, a lot of his choreography came from like picking things out of a hat, literally. So you're like picking a movement and being like, okay, I guess we'll start with that, or just a direction or like some kind of prompt that you're using. And that's the thing about contemporary and modern in general, is it's very interpretive. It's not one meaning fits all. It's like can be anything. And that's what I keep trying to tell my dancers when we're choreographing, because we'll be like, okay, let's make our dance about this. And they'll be like, okay, well, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's have this storyline. Let's have because we're making like a dance about feeling like lonely, and how that can be being in a group and feeling like isolation. And they want to create a storyline of, well, let's have this girl be out here and let's all be over here, and let's have this one be sad and we'll all be happy. And I'm like, okay, no, let's think of it more general terms than that. Like, how can we represent we're each feeling loneliness at our own time while we're all together? Things like that. So, and that we're not trying to make a clear concept that we want every single person in the audience to understand. We're creating something that everyone can get something different from. So that is also very important to remember about contemporary. So like if I'm creating this dance to make a change, not everyone is going to understand that change and get it right away. Yeah. And that's also part of it. Like we want everyone to have a different opinion.
Yeah. So not to get into like a psychology episode here, but like I love what you said about like being together, but also like how everyone feels lonely in their own way, because that is like really like humanity, you know, is we feel certain feelings and we don't always know what other people are feeling. So once again, not to get too deep into that.
But hopefully when you see my dance, you can feel some of that, or get
and that'll be
that's
for the
spring show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's the older girls' dance.
Julia, what is the difference between modern and contemporary?
Good question. Yeah, that's something that a lot of people don't understand. So like I was saying, modern dance was originally created like early 1900s, and it was different people that had their own technique. So Martha Graham is one of those people that created her own technique, and she called it the Graham technique. There was also Doris Humphrey, Charles Weidman, and they started their own kind of technique that was very much within that swinging, release, all of those kinds of things, working with gravity and flowing in that way. And then from there, the Limon technique was created, the Horton technique was created. So all these different dancers. And the other thing too is if you look back at history, they all are related to each other. So Martha Graham was taught by Humphrey, and she was taught by someone else. So they all were taught by each other. And then from there, like a lot of these dancers in the company decided to create their own technique. So there was like tons of different techniques that were created during that early period of modern dance. And then from that, like I said, it branched into postmodern dance, which became very similar to contemporary, of like not having these codified movements. Modern, when you go into a modern class, it's very similar to ballet, where you're going to have a codified class every time. So for Martha Graham technique, you're always going to start on the floor doing your contractions, doing your bounces and your breathings. That's what they're called. I know that doesn't really make sense to you guys, but you always do that at the beginning of class. For a Horton class, you always do your flat backs and laterals first, or your roll downs. And these are just like set exercises that whoever teaches it is going to know that exercise. And there's different variations, like there is in ballet, but it's a codified technique. Versus contemporary is a lot of different forms of contemporary. There is release technique, which is has a lot to do with floor work, but also just releasing the body in any way. So like thinking about not pointing the toes with like your most pointed foot, you're like almost stretching through the ankle and having the energy go through the toes. Like, and you're not everything is so constricted. It's very much about releasing the body and finding that flow, which is really difficult for classically trained dancers. And then there's a whole section of contemporary that's just about floor work. I love floor work. That's like one of my main favorites in contemporary. And that has like a whole other technique to it. But like I said, it's not a codified technique that you're doing the same thing every time. I've been in a lot of different contemporary release classes that do completely different things. And so, yeah, basically I would say contemporary is a very wide form that encompasses a lot of different styles and methods of thought. Modern dance is a bunch of different people that created their own techniques that are codified. So contemporary still doesn't really have like a very good definition to it. It's very of a wide range of things. I would say it's a combination of modern dance. There's some ballet elements. There's even some hip hop elements if you're throwing in like floor work and breakdancing and stuff like that. Also like lyrical and even some cultural dance elements. There's one form, it's called, her name is Catherine Dunham, and she very much took inspiration from African dance and created her own modern dance from it. And that's the other thing. Modern dance has a lot of influence from other countries, which kind of just turned into people being like, ooh, I like that. Let me make it mine. Let me make it American and put my name on it kind of thing. So there's some problematic issues with modern dance in that way, but their contemporary is all of those things encompassing in one. Modern is like its own thing, I would say. But modern is a type of contemporary also.
I see. So would you say modern is more structured program and the contemporary is more wide open?
Yeah.
Like, there's
exactly.
no certain exact technique to it.
Yes.
I see.
Interesting. So, how did you make the transition going from college and like graduating and then, I guess part of the question would be, how did you know that dance? I mean, you already knew to some degree because you went and pursued dance in college. But at what point did you realize, like, I can actually do this professionally? This is what I'm going to do with my life. I'm sure that happened at some point where you had to make that decision, right? Because let's face it, it's a high pressure industry, right? It's like, it's an art form, and a lot of art forms, it's difficult to make a career out of them. You have to really work hard, and you have to basically ignore all of the noise around you of like the voices telling you that it's unrealistic, right? So how did you realize that that was what you were going to fully pursue, and how did that transition look going from college to the professional field?
Yeah. So I'd say like after graduating and spending 5 years actually training and working on my dance degree, I don't think there was any other route I would have chosen at that point. I'm also very lucky where my entire family supports me and believes in dance as a career, where I don't think a lot of families feel that way. So
probably helps with the musical background.
Exactly. Yeah. Because my brother's a full-time musician and he teaches also full-time. So
which in another world, by the way, you could have been a ballet pianist.
Yeah. Very true. It still could be. But yeah, so like I'm just very lucky to have that family support in general. So there was really no question of that ever. And then, like I said, all of my teachers in the dance program really made it clear that this can be a career for all of us and it can be whatever you want it to be. I started teaching for Ivan, I think 2 years before I graduated. I think it was 2022. Or maybe 2023. I don't know.
Times go so fast.
I know. I'm like, I don't even know.
Each other for so many years.
Yeah. So I started teaching just contemporary and pre-ballet here, and I thought I had some teaching experience, but it took me like a full year almost to just like feel confident in teaching. Especially the pre-ballet was such a hard thing to wrap my head around, to just teach children and like want them to be excited about ballet. And at this point, I feel very proud of my pre-ballet program. Now we have a second level of pre-ballet, and I have a lot of students that are returning to me. And I have like a curriculum that I've built from the ground up, and I feel very good about that. And same with my contemporary teaching. But when I was still in school, I was only teaching 1 day a week here. But it did feel right. And then after I graduated, I was still teaching only 1 or 2 days a week here. And I didn't really have any other jobs. I did dog walking and dog sitting and just pet sitting in general for a lot of college. So that helped me a lot, just making money in general. And that's something I have gained a lot of clients from and everything like that.
And you can make a lot of money doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good side job.
People want to make sure that their pets are taken care of. A lot of people consider their dogs like their children.
Yeah.
yes, that's my son right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think once I was graduating, I just kind of told Ivan, like, okay, I have more hours now. And I did take a few more classes on. And then that first, and also my last year, because I did take a 5th year. So my 5th year was kind of, I felt like I had already kind of graduated and I was going through that. I during that last year, did a few different auditions, none of which were like super important or crucial to me. Like every audition I went to, it was like, I'm okay if I don't get this. Like I don't really want it that badly. And that has a lot to do with with why I did not get those jobs probably. And I've done like a handful of auditions since then, gotten many rejections, and I don't know. I just like don't have like the eagerness like that I did when I first got out of college to go to all these auditions and keep getting rejected. So I've just kind of been like, well, audition season is coming around again, so we'll see. We'll see about this year. But I just like, a lot of my friends got into companies right away, right out of college, or even while we were still in college. And it's like local companies. So these companies, if you're lucky, they can pay you an hourly for rehearsal, which is rare. But most companies in Orange County just pay for performances, and it's usually a stipend. So it's very low. You're not going to like make a living off of that. And you also have to commit to weekly rehearsals that you're not getting paid for. So that's just something that like it's just hard for most people. And yeah, a lot of my friends I know do that, and they're struggling because they don't get paid, and they have to go to this rehearsal that they have to drive far away to 2 times a week, and they're not getting paid. And then they have the one performance at the end of the year. And it's like, yes, they're gaining a lot of dance experience and company experience, but I just don't like want to spend time doing that right now. And I also haven't gotten into any companies, so I can't be talking. But my first year, or that first year out of college, I did get my first paid job, and it was actually one of my professors got asked to choreograph for this Grammy Award-winning choir. And she asked me and a few of other students that had graduated if we wanted to dance for her. And it was at the Segerstrom. And I actually got paid like a few $100s for this. It was, again, just got paid a stipend at the end. So I didn't get paid hourly for rehearsals or anything. But it was my first paid dance job. The first thing that like makes me feel like I am a professional. Yeah. And it was great. And it was so cool. We got to work with this actual professional choir. And they were doing this really cool piece about homelessness. So it was a political piece, very up my alley. And we were dancers representing the homeless people while the singers sang around us about it. And it was just such a beautiful experience, especially because that was like my first time being almost like a background dancer. Like the dancers weren't the most important thing. And it was just so cool that it happened to be for social justice, and they actually raised a lot of money from it. And it was just such a cool first experience to be part of, especially it was one of my favorite professors that asked me to do it. And I love working with her. So that was such a great first professional experience that I am so happy to have done. And they actually filmed that, like a professional filming of it. And it has gotten into like many dance festivals now, or film festivals now. So I have my dance out there in a film, which is very cool.
Which, I appreciate, because that was like my first love was filmmaking. So
yeah. So, and also I also love filmmaking. So that was the fall of 2024. Yes. And then that spring, or I guess it was literally January, Ivan had expressed that he was looking to hire some extra help as a studio manager. And it was like during one of our teacher meetings, and I told him after, or I asked him if I could stay afterwards. And I was like, hey, if you're looking for some extra help, I have a lot of availability. I don't have experience in managing and administration work as a dance studio, but like I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to try. I love being in charge of things, and I love taking the lead on things like that. I'm really good at planning. And he was like, oh. And I remember at first you were like, okay, let me get back to you on that. But then the next week you were like, okay, let's do it. And we did it. I jumped into it very quickly. That was in January, and in the middle of the season. And I didn't really have a training period. It was like you're just jumping in. And I was trained by the front desk staff, who I'm supposed to know more than. And it was a very hard transitional period because I was like the manager before I even knew how to manage. But I quickly got a hang of it. And I think moments was a difficulty in that one. And just like a lot of adjustments and things to figure out, and also just like getting organized as a studio for the first time, because like you had never had that dependable team before. All of our front desk people had been not dependable. So it was like almost creating new structures from the ground up and making something better. And now it's been over a year as studio manager, and that has just turned quickly into a full-time job, which I love because it keeps me super busy. I think before that I had a lot of time in my hands and I felt like purposeless, and like even like I couldn't get into any dance companies, so I felt like I wasn't doing the right thing and I wasn't doing enough. But I very much feel a purpose here, and I feel at first it was a little bit hard, especially like the teachers that are older in age than me. I am their manager now, and like they're like, well, we don't trust you. We've had Ivan as our boss. Like, what do you mean you're our new boss? And that was a big transitional period, I would say. And just like a lot of the parents who had been here longer than me, or their students that had been here longer than me as a teacher. And it just took a while to gain everyone's trust because they didn't know what to expect from me. But it happened very quickly. I would say when we came into the new season in August, I felt really good. I had a great staff under me. Everyone was responsible and good on their tasks. And I finally felt like we got to a place of delegation and like really good flow between the work. And yeah, so like I said, now doing that pretty much full time, a great thing about working here is I get to take free dance classes.
Yeah.
So
It's a good perk.
Yeah, I take adult ballet as often as I can, which is not that often. And then like I'll try to take adult classes wherever I can if they're contemporary. And then I also do yoga like a lot. I'll try to do it weekly. But I just feel like I don't prioritize dancing myself as much anymore, which I feel like I should more. So that's like where I'm at right now in the professional realm. I forgot to mention more about performing. So after I did that one choir paid gig, since then I have performed in New York for a dance festival. I performed here for a few different dance festivals in Orange County and LA. But it's almost all of them have been through my friends and people that I graduated school with. So either pieces that we already had existing in college, or they say, I just want to create a new piece. Like Aurora last year, she said, we both work here and we have studio space. So she said, let's choreograph something. I want to choreograph on you. So she choreographed a solo on me, and we took it to the Mixed Match Dance Festival in LA. And that was really fun. That was just earlier this year. No, that was last year. That was last year. I'm completely losing track of time. Yeah, it was last August that I did that one. And then now this summer again, I'm going to go to New York to perform. So it's been really great because again, I don't get paid for these things, but it's fine. I get paid in experience and joy of dance. But my friends, or the people I've went to school with, they basically have created their own companies, because when you submit your work to a dance festival, you have to put it under a company name. So if you're looking at it that way, then I'm part of like 3 or 4 different companies that are just my friends from college that put their name on a thing. But they have potential to turn into actual companies. Right. And now I'm part of something, the foundation of something that could turn into something else.
Yeah, for so sure. True. Especially when there's the passion behind it and the hard work paired with that. I mean, things end up turning into something that you don't expect. So I would not be surprised if one of those companies takes off and then, and then you're like ultra famous after that. But I think the biggest takeaway from this that's important because a lot of the reason why we do this podcast, or at least I know it's on Ivan's heart, is to encourage young dancers, right? So I think the biggest thing is to let dancers know that your vision of what it looks like to be a professional dancer may not end up being what you end up in. And it also, like you said, there are so many, like hundreds of different ways that you can get paid from dance or make a living off of it. So, we talked about this on the episode with Del, like he didn't dance to be a dancer so much. He danced to become a teacher, so like, it's just like, there are so many different things, and you could find yourself being so happy in dance, and you may not get paid from all of those gigs, but you have the opportunity to do them, and you work at a dance studio as a manager, getting paid, which puts you in that dance environment more and also enables you to be able to spend the time to do those other dance related things, right? And to not have to rent studio space when you need it and all those things. So, you may not have those opportunities to dance with those companies or whatever if you didn't have the resources that are available to you as a studio manager.
Definitely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, Julia, it's been 2 years ago, right? About 2 years ago when you came and we started building the team. 2 years ago?
Well, studio manager or teacher?
Yeah, studio manager.
Oh, yeah. Just like 1.5 years.
1.5 years, yeah. So when Julia came, it was I think it was about my 4th year. So it was middle of 4th season. And there was nothing in place. Okay. There was a few playbooks that I just started building slowly. It was absolutely nothing. I was doing every Tuesday newsletter. I was doing all of these things. So when Julia joined it, she's like, okay, what to do? And I was like, there was nothing,
Right.
just like Google Drive. And then in Google Drive, there's like 15, 25 different folders. And then Julia is texting me, she's like, I don't have a permission. I don't have a permission. That was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot, I remember. So it took us about a year of hard work building a team structure, playbooks, operations to get to that point and feel really proud of ourselves, right, Julia? I'm very grateful for you to be here as a teacher, as a manager, as a believing in our mission and the goals. So it's been amazing time together. Really.
Yeah, that's something we've always related on, I think, is that need for control and doing it yourself and everything like that. And Ivan, I think, like for a long time, just wanted to do everything himself and take everything on, which is so hard as also an owner, and you're doing every single job by yourself. And now I'm in that position where I want to do it all myself. And he's like, no, you need to let other people do it. And I'm like,
Right.
no, but I want to do it. So it's like, it's funny because we relate on that so much, but I think we also we both have that same mindset of like having really high quality standards. And that's why we want to do it ourselves.
Yeah. It's hard to trust people to get a job done. And, I've had some experiences myself where I've like allocated responsibility to people and they just either don't do it or they don't do a very good job. And then it's like, well, who can you trust, right? It's like, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself, right? That's the old adage. So, no, for sure. But once you find the right team like you're talking about, I think that's really valuable.
Building team and getting along, and talking through the problems together. It's like a relationship, right? As I said before, you have to be certain to communicate some things. And some things are uncomfortable sometimes, right? But you're still going through, communicate. I think because we're having really mutual goal together, when we align really on that goal together and they see the benefit too, I think it's making a big difference. But we grow a lot and we're going to bring this place to many, many places. Right, Julia?
Yes.
Yes. That's what it's going to be, for sure. I don't have any doubts. And that, Julia, thank you so much for today's podcast. That's been an amazing time together. And it was beautiful to see you in this journey, being a dancer. And I know it's not easy, but I see how you're striving and you will be dancing and creating every day of your life.
And I'm holding you to that modern class that you said you're going to give.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm holding you to it. Okay.
Will do then. All right.
All right. Well, nice
Thank
having
you guys
you.
for having me. I'm so glad I did it. It's always so nice to talk about dance. And like I said, I can talk about dance and myself forever. So
Right.
you have to cut me off at some point.
No, it's okay.